with who's going to be on the team based on who they pick. And for more on all of it, Sheil Kapadia. Good morning, Sheil.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. Sheil, I got to sneak one Phil's question in with you, and then we'll get to the Eagles. Your frustration meter, how high is it right now at the Phillies?
It's medium. It's we're not at Memorial Day yet. They're 3 games over 500. The bullpen is what really has me concerned. And I was listening to Ruben say, "Hey, Ranger Suarez, maybe he can be the answer there." And I keep thinking maybe that is going to be the answer for them because they need another arm back there that I feel like when they go into the game, I can trust them. So I'm not at a 8 or a 9 yet.
Yeah.
Let's give it some time.
Sheil, hang on a second. Let me ask Ruben a question. Rube, we touched on this yesterday. I mean, to me, I would think this is a non-starter for Ranger and his agent, Scott Boras. But would Ranger willingly move in the bullpen in May or June in a contract year? I mean, I feel like that's an unfair ask.
I think it's too early to do that. At some point, he may have to. And at some point, that's the best. If that's the best thing for the team. But we have to remember, again, they don't have a whole lot of depth pitching-wise after Ranger and eventually Painter. So,
well, you got 6 guys. I mean, at some point, you got more depth than the other guys got down the street.
And you have more depth there than you at other spots in the team.
Absolutely.
Right? At this particular moment.
True.
Okay, there's 5 months left, and then another month. So hopefully.
Yeah.
So, pump the brakes.
All right. Sheil, let's talk some Eagles here. Let me just start with a basic question. Give me 2 or 3 names at pick 32. Reasonable for the Eagles to get at 32 or moving up just a little bit. 2 or 3 names Eagles fans should be thrilled if they hear the Eagles have drafted on Thursday night.
Yeah, I think one guy who's generated a lot of buzz is Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss. He transferred from Texas A&M. Very disruptive player, and if you're the Eagles, and you want to fill that defensive tackle hole and get someone who on third down can rush the passer next to Jalen Carter, fill that void from Milton Williams, and really has upside. I mean, you're picking at 32, so every guy you get, they're going to have some questions with them, and he wasn't the most consistent producer, but I do think the potential, the upside there is there with Walter Nolan. So that's one. Another guy I like is Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia. Now, I don't think that's the Eagles' preference, would be to get a safety at 32. I think they would like to address the lines of scrimmage. But, man, if the board falls a certain way and he drops, he started as a freshman at Georgia, was a highly productive player there, high football IQ. I think he's someone who could come in, replace Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and be a really good player for you.
Who don't you want?
He is a guy who is still talked about sort of in our vicinity, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like Starks has been a name who's like around our area in 32. Are there any guys that I know, Joe, you want to ask who don't you want?
Yeah, Sheil, who don't you want? Who has been discussed and viable in that range that you think would be a bad fit for the Eagles?
Yeah, there are a few guys. There's this edge rusher, Mike Green from Marshall, who people like. I mean, he's facing 2 sexual assault allegations, and I just feel like if you're taking an edge rusher from Marshall with that kind of baggage, that to me would not be a good use of a first round resource. That's when Shamar Stewart is this edge rusher from Texas A&M, who everybody likes his potential. He had 1.5 sacks last year. And so to me, the draft is all about making bets that you feel good about, knowing that there's going to be risk. And I would just rather take a guy who was a little bit more productive in college.
Yeah, so the clean player, the player that you would trade up for, does everything sort of have to be perfect for that guy? I would prefer like going back, accumulating more picks in this draft, Sheil personally. But if I were to go up, I want it to be worth my while. That's for sure. How does that work for the Eagles or any of these teams? It's got to be as perfect as it gets in order to sacrifice that sort of capital to move up in the draft. And do you see guys that you secretly think could slip that the Eagles would make a move for?
Yeah, it all depends how far up you're going. Howie Roseman's MO has been he will trade up. I mean, we've seen that in a bunch of these recent years, but it's not a massive trade up. He's not going like 10, 12 spots up. It's all right, let's get ahead of Team X because we think they're interested in the player we want, so we're going to move up 3 or 4 spots, maybe give up a 4th-round pick and make sure we get the player we want. It's hard to identify a lot of those guys in this draft. It's one of those drafts where you look at it, and even in the top 10, I look at some of these guys and I say, wait, they're going in the top 10. This guy has an injury question. This guy doesn't have the measurables, all those things. So I'm not sure this is the year to do that. Now, a couple names just in case. One would be Michael Williams, who is an edge rusher from Georgia. Now, I don't think he's going to fall to a spot where the Eagles are going to be able to move up. But if you're asking me, hey, just kind of a dream scenario here, if he starts falling a little bit, he's only going to be 21 years old as a rookie. He's kind of like a DeMarcus Lawrence, Jason Pierre-Paul type body type. I think he's someone Vic Fangio would really like. And so I think the position matters a lot for whether they're going to move up. I would say lines of scrimmage, they would think about it. I have a hard time thinking they would trade up for any other position in this draft.
Sheil, two-part question on tight end. One, is Goedert gone by Sunday morning? And two, do you think tight end is a viable option in the first 2 rounds for the Eagles?
I mean, I would just like a Goedert resolution because I'm sick of talking about it. Probably like you guys are. I mean, Mike, can someone make a decision here on Dallas Goedert? My God, what is going on here? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be gone on Sunday morning. This thing has dragged on forever. They make the comments at the combine and the owners meeting where you say, all right, he's definitely gone. Well, guess what? He's still on the roster. And by the way, a little domino here in this Dallas Goedert discussion is that the Baltimore Ravens have a tight end, Mark Andrews, who supposedly is also available. So now if you're another team looking for a tight end and you want to trade for a veteran, you have multiple options out there, and that's probably not going to work in the Eagles' favor. So I don't want to act like I know what the resolution is going to be there because I'm still a little confused about it. Does it result in a pay cut for Dallas Goedert and he comes back and stays? So I can't tell you that. I really don't know. I guess if I had to guess right now, maybe, I would say he's gone this weekend and maybe they find a trade partner this weekend. First 2 rounds, it would shock me if the Eagles took a tight end in the first round just because I think the 2 top guys are going to be gone before their pick, and I don't see another guy who I like enough at least to draft at 32. Now, day 2, I think that absolutely is an option, specifically if they know they're going to trade Dallas Goedert. There are some guys out there. Mason Taylor is a tight end from LSU. Elijah Arroyo is a tight end from Miami who's a really exciting player, a vertical threat. So there are 2 or 3 guys, I think, on day 2 that could potentially be options for the Eagles.
Where do you think Shedeur Sanders is going to go, Sheil?
I've got him at 21 to the Steelers. Yeah, you know what? It's really confusing. It's the whole draft, content machine where a guy is swinging from the 3rd pick to the 9th pick to the 21st pick in a matter of weeks, and you're not sure what's going on. It just seems like the league is not that high on Shedeur Sanders' upside. So I think he may start to fall a little bit, and a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, who they don't have a quarterback, they might get a little lucky there and get a guy with a chip on his shoulder who maybe can come in and play well for them.
He really could tumble. If he doesn't get taken 3 or 9, he could go, because a lot of those teams have quarterbacks. He could really, I remember the Tennessee kid a couple years ago, maybe was going to go in the top 5, went in the 2nd round. It happens sometimes. So, all right, Sheil, I got 2 different Twitter poll questions of the day, and I'm curious how you would personally answer them. It's about acquiring a star pass rusher. Twitter poll questions brought to us by Armin Chevrolet. Armin's got the new 2025 Chevy Trax in stock now, starting at only $21,495. Together, let's drive. See Armin's inventory at arminchevy.com. All right, same question, just with a different name each question, Sheil. Would you trade the Eagles' first-round pick at 32 for T.J. Watt, and would you do it for Trey Hendrickson? You get it. GM calls you, says, Howie, enough of all the scouting. Like, you get T.J. Watt, you give me 32. You doing it?
I think I'm a no on those, knowing their financial situation and how much T.J. Watt is getting paid and how much you're going to have to pay Trey Hendrickson, and the fact that those are guys who are, I believe, 30 years old or right around 30 years old. So I think if I'm going to trade a first-round pick and a guy on a cost-controlled rookie contract, it's going to have to be for someone who is in their mid-20s, who's going to be around and productive for a long time. So I would be tempted. Don't get me wrong. T.J. Watt especially is a game-wrecking player. But I think ultimately knowing every signal that the Eagles have given us this offseason about their financials and about their concerns about paying a lot of these younger players, I think I would be a no.
Yeah, so here's where the audience is. 67% say yes on T.J. Watt. and 51% say yes, or 49% say yes on Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
You know,
it would be tempting. You know,
is.
another name I'll put out there
That's
that I
right.
just saw in Adam Schefter's column yesterday is Odaf Ooway from the Baltimore Ravens, who had 10 sacks last year, played his college ball at Penn State, was thought of as kind of a raw player coming into the NFL, is developing a little bit, but according to that column, maybe the Ravens don't want to pay him big money. So that, to me, that name caught me by surprise. I didn't think he was available, but when I saw that name, I thought, all right, if the Eagles are actually going to take a big swing, maybe it would be for a younger player like that who's going to be around for a long time. So that's just another name to kind of throw in there.
Sheil, this is a bit of a flyer, but when you were watching tape on any of these college kids, did anyone pop just for you? Like when I watched, I don't know, Sidney Brown's college tape, it was like, holy cow, this guy is flying around trying to decapitate everyone. It was just like, man, I love the way this guy plays. Did you find any guys that just really stuck out to you?
Yeah, there's this safety from South Carolina. His name is Nick Emmanary, and he is actually a guy who could potentially fall into the round where the Eagles are drafting, because safeties typically don't go that high. He's 6'3", he's 220, and he is an unbelievable athlete. Like, all these guys are great athletes. So when there's one guy who's flying around and you say, wow, he's moving at a different speed than everyone else, and it was backed up by everything with his combine testing, and he kind of drops into coverage and has good instincts. I thought, man, this would be a really interesting player for Vic Fangio to get his hands on and add to this defense. So yeah, he
6'3", 220.
Yeah,
running a 4.38.
It's unbelievable.
Man, that tweener.
Yeah, I know.
You talk about a guy. We're talking about guys who can be off ball and blitz off the edge. This is a different incarnation of that. This is guys who can play off the ball and cover everybody.
Yeah, I thought about him. Hey, they have a little linebacker issue with, we don't know when Nakobe Dean is going to be back for this football team. I thought, man, on third down, I really think this is a player you could just line up next to Zach Vaughn and put in your coverage packages. So he was a guy that was pretty interesting to me.
Hey, Sheil, great work in the lead up to the draft, man, as always. And, of course, we'll talk to you when it's over, whether it's Friday or early next week. We'll get you on again soon. We really appreciate when you come on the show. Thanks, Sheil.
All right, look forward to it, guys. Take care.
You got it.